Hi guys, and welcome back to another Call of Duty commentary with me, InstentKarma with an E. Today I'm starting out a new series for you guys, something that's always piqued my interest and what I've been wanting to do with this channel for a while. And as you know, when I started out, I wanted to teach people things about Call of Duty so they could get better at their game and improve and become the best player possible. And that started out with Black Ops, and now we're into Modern Warfare 3, and there wasn't too many tips that I could give you guys because everything was scaled so that it catered to the noobs. And there were certain things you could do, but overall wasn't my cup of tea. So I figured I wanted to bring you guys something back that lets you learn and makes your time worthwhile, because we can all sit down and watch TV and waste our mind away, but when does it really come to something that we're actually benefiting ourselves and furthering ourselves to the point where it's not a waste of time anymore and it's something that was mixing fun with learning? So that's what I want to do for you guys today, and this is a topic that piques my interest quite a bit, and that's that of space. And I want to teach you guys a little bit about what I've been learning, and might be stuff you already learned in your science class, might not, but I find it interesting. I didn't learn it in high school, so I'm figuring I'll bring it to you guys here. So the topic conversation for today is going to be that of Pluto, and a lot of people know that this was a planet that used to be in our solar system, and then for whatever reason, people stopped calling it a planet and said it wasn't anymore, and now we only have our 8 planets in this solar system. Now, I was one of those people for a long time that wanted to continue calling it a planet because that's the way I was grown. We learned all the songs about the planets and all the different aspects about them, and just knew that Pluto was one of the planets. And for 73 or 75 years, it was that case from the point that Pluto was first discovered. But what happened is, out in 2005, on July the 29th, this guy by the name of Mike Brown, he's an astronomer, worked with his team, and he always was staring up at the stars looking for new things. Well, he was staring in Pluto's direction and saw in the same area this planet that he dubbed Aries. He wanted to also call it Xena after the warrior princess, but after consulting with his team, decided to call it Aries, and coined it the 10th planet. Thought that this would be the case. Well, they started looking into it a little bit more and found out that this is the same exact orbit as Pluto, and so maybe we are a 10-planet solar system. Well, this started causing a lot of confusion because there's all those people that still wanted to stick with the 9-planet solar system and weren't really willing to accept this new one. And keep in mind, this new planet was a little bit bigger than Pluto and had its own moon as well. So that's what they were calling it. And so what happened is this International Astronomer Union, I believe is what it's called, the IAU, they got together and started talking about this, and they wanted to see if they should welcome Aries into the planet family and start calling it that. Well, they did a lot more research on this subject and noticed that there was a lot of stuff going along out there in that distant part of our solar system. And what's actually out there, they discovered, is the thing called the Kuiper Belt. It's an asteroid belt comprised of a whole bunch of big rocks and things like Pluto. And Pluto doesn't really have its own atmosphere or anything like that. Yeah, during certain points it can swell up and have a small atmosphere, but its seasons last for a matter of years. Like winter on Pluto lasts for 63 years. And when it's cold out there and it's winter, its atmosphere collapses and nothing really happens. Whereas when it comes summer, it grows a little bit, but nothing's still too dynamic. So most of these are just floating ice rocks out in space. And they're all in the Kuiper Belt there, and there's a bunch of them they've started to discover. Well, that's when the IAU decided, well, we're not going to be willing to accept all these new things we're finding out there as planets, because there was about a total of 8 of them that had their own moons and had, things orbiting around them just because they were a big pool of gravity. So what ended up happening is they voted on what they should define as a planet, and ended up coming to the consensus that a planet would be something that is a celestial body, so basically just, a rock in outer space, and it orbits the sun. So, we can still hold Pluto to that. So the next one that comes about is it needs to have sufficient mass for its self-gravity to overcome rigid body forces, so it assumes a hydrostatic equilibrium or a nearly round shape. So basically what it's saying is that it needs to have enough gravity to be able to pull things down into it. That's why most planets are round, is because it has all that gravity that pulls it into it and compacts all the matter so that it becomes a round surface. Well, the thing that they added onto this here is it needs to have cleared the neighborhood around its orbit. So when it orbits the sun, it needs to be the only thing in that path. And that's what kicked both Pluto and Aries out of the planet category, because since they're in part of the Kuiper Belt, they have all these other rocks that are out there orbiting the sun along with them. So what it now is called a dwarf planet. So it's not included in the main 9, but it does have its own name. It's a new name that they came up with, I believe, for Pluto, and so it is called dwarf planet now. So it still maintains the first two things. It orbits the sun and it has its own gravity that compacts it down into a round shape, but it doesn't have its own path in its orbit around the sun. So that's what we call it now. So it still is out there, and that is why it's no longer considered one of the 9 planets anymore, because it can't be that way just because they changed the definition on it. And if they were to go back to the old definition, it might be the case, but then we'd have to include all these other planets such as Eris and Sedna and Quasar or Quaoar. I don't know how to say it. It's spelled Quaoir. So it's some weird thing that's out there that they've started naming all these things. So if we change the definition back, we'd have to add a total of 8 planets to our solar system, including Pluto in that 8. So that's basically what's happening. So you guys can fully argue against why Pluto isn't a planet anymore and realize that it's not that just some people are crazy out there not wanting to call it anymore. There is an actual reason for that. So this will go ahead and conclude the first in my series about the education of space, and I'll be bringing you guys here a new one hopefully in the next coming week or so. I want to be talking about the sun in my next one, so it's something to look forward to there. If you guys like this, please make sure to let me know so I can continue the series or stop the series depending on what you think of it. I'm going to go ahead and cut this here. Please remember, rate, comment, subscribe. Catch you next time.